Imagine waking up one day and having no idea who you are. You have no memories. Looking in the mirror, you don't recognize yourself. Everything is blank. Imagine finding out that you've been missing for 27 years. This truly sounds like the plot of a twisted thriller, but this really happened to a man named Benjamin Kyle, who spent decades trying to find out his true identity. This is hands down one of the most mind-blowing, bizarre, mysterious cases in history. One morning around 5 a.m., a Burger King employee in Richmond Hill, Georgia, made a shocking discovery. He was walking into work when he looked over and noticed an unconscious man lying next to a dumpster behind the restaurant. This man was nude and in bad shape. He was sunburned, beaten, bloody, with apparent blunt force trauma to the head. Covered in ants, they were surrounding him. He had no possessions, nor any ID on him. He was unconscious, but still alive. This employee immediately called 911, and EMS took this man to a hospital in Savannah, Georgia. With no ID, he was referred to in hospital records as Burger King Doe. In the first couple days he got there were really difficult. This man didn't open his eyes or speak. He specifically didn't like to be touched, becoming very aggressive if anyone touched his chest. And doctors found out that this man had no idea who he was. He didn't know his own name. He didn't know how he wound up behind that Burger King, who had hurt him. No idea where he was born, where he grew up, who his family was. He was a stranger to himself. This man had long hair, long beard, and cataracts in his eyes so he could barely see. At one point, he requested a priest come and visit his room, but when the priest got there, he called him a demon and ordered him to leave. With no other way to ID him, police ran his fingerprints, but there were no matches. They looked into missing persons cases in the area, but none matched their Burger King Doe. Doctors believe this man had identity loss due to dissociative amnesia, a type of temporary amnesia. In the following months, he stayed at the hospital, nurses and doctors trying to help him recover his memories. And eventually, he was moved to a shelter and said that he thought his name was maybe Benjamin, spelled with 2 A's, but said he couldn't remember his last name and came up with the name Kyle. And from that point on, he was known as Benjamin Kyle, close to what doctors first called him, BK. Now, these fugue states can last from hours to days to months and sometimes even years. And from just looking at them, the person in the fugue state can look completely normal. You pass them along the street just like they're anyone else. It's quite scary. And for Benjamin, this type of diagnosis is scary enough when you have family and friends around that can help you try and recover your memories to help fill in the gaps. But Benjamin was completely alone in a place he didn't recognize. The nurses at the shelter really took to Benjamin. They said he was high functioning and really enjoyed trying to help him regain his memories. And over time, some memories did start to come back to him. Benjamin had vague snippets of really random memories, like eating grilled cheese at an Indiana State Fair as a kid. He remembered he lived in Colorado at one point, really liking a certain restaurant in the area and hating another. Many of his memories he said he couldn't describe in words, and others were so close they were at the tip of his tongue, which had to be maddening. But it's so mysterious the things that Benjamin did remember. Places, foods, but not so much people. Over time, Benjamin became an employee at the shelter, cleaning and doing odd jobs. And he finally got surgery for his cataracts. He could see. But when he saw himself in the mirror for the first time, he was absolutely shocked. Benjamin thought that he was in his 20s or 30s when really he was in his 60s. So he didn't even know what age he was. One nurse at the shelter named Catherine took a particular interest in his case, reaching out to the FBI to get him on a missing persons list. Benjamin was the only person that had his whereabouts known, as he was missing but also not missing. Kind of. This nurse even got Benjamin's story into the media. He even appeared on an episode of Dr. Phil, hoping that he had family out there somewhere that would recognize him and could help him. But sadly, no one came forward to claim Benjamin. Where was this man's family? Friends? Anybody? So heartbreaking, because I think the only hope you may have in this type of situation would be, hey, if I get my face out there, someone will have to claim me, right? But not in Benjamin's case. Over the years, Benjamin also wasn't able to obtain secure employment as he couldn't remember his full social security number. So he would work handyman jobs and stayed with that nurse for a while, but Catherine said over time she didn't feel like Benjamin really wanted to find his true identity. She felt like he just liked the attention, ultimately asking him to leave. From there, Benjamin went to Jacksonville, Florida, but was turned away from a shelter as he didn't have a valid ID. At this point, Benjamin didn't have anywhere to go. He began living in a tent behind the police station as he couldn't get a job, couldn't make money, and didn't have a place to stay. Several petitions were created asking lawmakers to help him. One even reaching whitehouse.gov, but without his social security number, they're like, can't help ya. Benjamin continuing the years not knowing who he was. Some local authorities tried to help sending DNA samples to the FBI National Criminal Justice Information Division, but there were no hits either. A man named John Wickstrom ended up making a documentary about Benjamin's case, called Finding Benjamin, which played at the Tribeca Film Festival. From the publicity from this documentary, a local restaurant owner named Josh Strutt, who owned a fish restaurant, gave Benjamin a job and place to stay. A number of people who specialized in genealogy tried to help Benjamin, but this took time. One genealogist said that he inexplicably cut ties with her, saying that it didn't seem like he wanted to find his real identity. But for Benjamin, he stated he didn't have a deep need to find out who he was, because he just didn't have any memories from that life. And also, his family didn't seem to want to find him either. Finally, a genealogist named Cece Moore took on Benjamin's case, did some detective work, and finally in 2015, Benjamin Kyle announced that through DNA testing and genealogy, he had discovered his real name and true identity. He was actually William Burgess Powell, born in 1948, from Indiana. He had 2 remaining brothers from his family. And you may be wondering, well, what about these brothers? Why weren't they looking for him? They did, when he went missing in 1976. Furman Powell Jr., William's brother, said that William was their mom's favorite growing up, but their father had PTSD from serving in the war. He was a drinker and supposedly took his rage out on William. William lived with a family friend to escape his dad, later moving to a trailer home. Then, one night in 1976, William failed to show up for a family dinner, and they never saw him again. William's brothers searched for him, police finding his car down the river a few miles near a dam, so they feared the worst. Police later tracked him down to Colorado, where William worked in a restaurant. But after multiple attempts from his brothers, with no response, they eventually began to believe that William passed away. They didn't know where he went, but hadn't heard from him. Records showed that William used his social security number for employment in Colorado until 1983. But then, it stopped. William became a ghost. As far as his public record showed, he vanished. Doctors believe it was around this point he entered a fugue state. Involuntary eraser of identity. Those suffering will take on new identities and new names, and they will often just pick up and leave. Traveling on long journeys, they move around a lot. Just like in TV and movies, like Breaking Bad, some people believe they're faking this and using this quote-unquote fugue state to get out of a situation they don't want to be in or flee. But there are many, many cases of this being very real. People vanishing without a trace. Those disappearances where it looks like someone just got up and walked out their front door, never to be seen again. From 1983 to 2004, William's movements and whereabouts is a complete mystery to everyone, including William. Imagine having decades of your life completely missing, and so many questions remain. How did he end up behind that Burger King? Who beat him up? Benjamin, rather William, found out his true identity, but this case is still shrouded in so much mystery. And finally, only after locating his social security number, William finally received public assistance. Most recent reports say that William moved back to Indiana, finally coming home after decades. There's so much we don't know and understand about the human brain. It's a mystery. And it's crazy to think about because I'm thinking about my brain right now, and I'm like, I don't know everything about you, brain. And my brain's like, no, you don't. That's crazy. But I gotta know, what are your thoughts on this story? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for subscribing to this channel. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and turn on post notifications. I upload new videos every week, and I don't want you to ever miss out. And to hold you over until next episode, check out these videos. You could pick that one or that one. See you soon.